For today's activity, I am going to show you what it's like when I am reading and what I'm doing with my mind. What am I thinking about while I am reading? So I'm going to show you my thinking as I read. And then while you're watching the video, at certain points, you will stop and answer questions about what you are reading. This is the same part of the article that we read in class on Tuesday. So we're reading it again to do some deeper thinking. The title of the article is Exploding Beauty Standards. This is a part of the book, The Self-Love Revolution. And the author of the book is Virgie Tovar. Part 1. Something that always surprises people. We learn who is and isn't beautiful from our culture. I actually had never thought where I learned or where I got my ideas of what is and isn't beautiful. To me, I always thought that was just in my head, but she's saying that it actually comes from our culture. So now I'm thinking, what is my culture? What does that mean? Let's continue. We're not born believing that one kind of hair or skin color or one kind of body is more appealing than others. We learn that as we grow up. Okay, I know that I like curly hair better, but I always thought it was because I don't have curly hair and I want what I don't have. But maybe I learned it somewhere. Let's see. How do we learn that? The same way we learn everything else, through other people's behavior, TV, the fashion world, books, the internet, advertising, magazines, who we see in movies, the things our friends and family say, bullies, and the other people around us. So now I'm going to go back and I'm like, okay, that's a lot of things. And I'm going to begin to think about what different ideas have I gotten about beauty from these different places. Now, the fashion world, right? When I look at advertisements of different clothes, usually it's always really skinny people, right? And books, I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But the internet on social media, right? Everyone looks very put together, right? And that teaches me something about maybe how we're supposed to look. All right, let's keep reading. Our understanding of who and what is beautiful changes a little depending on where we live. Okay, so we all live in Oakland. I'm thinking to myself, how does that impact what I think is beautiful and not beautiful? For the past 10 years, I have lived in San Francisco, a rich city. Yes, definitely, there's a lot of money in San Francisco, with a population that's almost half white. So now I'm thinking, I wonder if ethnicity, right, impacts what we think is beautiful and not. Here, athletic, slender people are considered the most beautiful, which is common in wealthy places. I wonder if the fact that they're mostly white, the majority of people are white, has anything to do with them wanting to be athletic and slender. Maybe it's the idea that if you have money, you also have the time to go and exercise and pay for a gym membership. And so maybe for those reasons, people who have money can then also be athletic. Let's keep reading. I grew up, though, in a mostly brown city. So when she says brown, she doesn't mean the color brown, but people who have brown color skin, where I learned two different ideas of beauty. Thin was considered attractive, right? And we know this word attractive, it's one of our vocabulary words, meaning nice to look at. But so was being thick. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. Right, so she said that thin was considered attractive, which is similar, right? Slender is another word for thin. So both in San Francisco and where she grew up, this idea is considered attractive. So I'm thinking, that's a similarity. Interesting. So is being thick. So she uses this word thick, right? And when I think of thick, I think of like this is thicker than this, right? It's wider. But I'm not sure what she means when it comes to bodies. So I'm going to keep reading and maybe we'll learn what it means. Thick meant you were bigger in the right places, right? And I'm thinking, why does she have these quotes? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean that maybe it's not true or it's some idea, right? Some people's idea, like your hips, chest, and butt, but you had a small waist and flat stomach. Like most girls, I didn't meet either of those ideas of beauty, and I felt like it was my fault. So we see this word fault again. Fault means, right, that it's your responsibility, right? That maybe you did something wrong and it's your responsibility. So because she didn't meet these ideas of beauty, right? She didn't have a small waist or flat stomach. She felt like it was her fault or something was wrong with her, right? But I see this here. I didn't meet either of those ideas of beauty. When I see meet, right? I meet someone. She didn't meet. She didn't get to know. So the word meet here means she didn't get to that level, right? So if you don't meet the idea of beauty, right, she didn't have that level of beauty or what was considered beautiful, right? She didn't have the small waist and the flat stomach, right? And so she felt like she wasn't there, right? She was lower, right? And all of this, what it's interesting that I notice is in the past, right? I felt like it was my fault. So in my head, I'm wondering, I wonder, does she still feel that way? Or maybe her ideas of beauty have changed. She talked about, right, where she lives now in San Francisco and the ideas of what is beautiful in a body. And then she talks about where she grew up, right? And now I'm beginning to think, okay, what about where I grew up and where I live? What is considered a beautiful body? So that's something that I'm going to think about later today. Thank you for reading with me, and I hope that this helped you understand the first part of exploding beauty standards better.